Okay, wait for this thing to focus if it's going to. Focus or not. Alright. I guess I gotta do this one, personally. Pretty much everything I do is political or deals with world affairs, just to keep Satan from taking over this world, because he's already got 90% of it. And he's down to this country in Europe, and he pretty much has Europe. He has his people in power over there. Just blows me away that the people over there haven't risen up, because they got their leaders telling them, look, when you get gang raped by a bunch of these people that worship Satan, but they call it a different religion, just allow it. You know, in fact, kiss their ass for it. You just got to get used to it. Like, it's a miracle to me that they got the people in Europe so dumbed down that they could tell them that. I mean, it's like the frog in the boiling water effect. You know, if you put a frog in water in a pan on the stove and you slowly turn the heat up, the frog will stay there. It won't jump out. It's not unless you turn it up real quick and it gets hot real quick, the frog will jump out. And that's what they've done to Europe. They've just slowly, piece by piece, you know, you got to accept this, now you got to accept this, now you got to accept this. And even their common sense is screaming at them saying, hell no to this. But they're so conditioned, they won't rise up. You know, I mean, I'll just say real quick, you know, like this guy Paul and his wife or girlfriend Jada that have a thing called Britain First in England, you know, where they're trying to stand up for Britain, and they're basically saying, look, Christ's ways are it. That's how we got where we are. That's why we're as successful of a society as we are, is by living by Christ's ways. You're trying to flip that upside down all of a sudden, you know, and try to run things Satan's way, and they're getting arrested, you know, and I think they're on getting, I don't know, they're in court now or something to be sentenced to go to prison because for telling the truth. The government has officially turned satanic over there, and you're not allowed to tell the truth. And there's a bunch of other governments doing the same. Or in Canada, I mean, you can't speak the truth about Islam. You know, if someone walks up to you and hits you in the head with an axe and screams Allahu Akbar, well, you can't tell no one about it. And it started here in America too. You know, Twin Falls, Idaho, 3 Muslim kids gang raped a 5-year-old girl. The judge and the prosecutor in the case went off on the parents of the girl who got raped, and the judge told the parents, if you talk about this to anybody, I'll throw you in prison. And this is in Idaho, where supposedly there's all these militias, you know, that I don't even know what they're there for. They should just say we're a bunch of bitch asses, you know, that act like we're something and we'll stand up for something. Anyways, that's pretty much, you know, when I talk about all this stuff like that, you know, all my videos, you know, how, because when you get down to it, it's Satanism. It's Satan taking over this planet. He's taken over, like I said, 90%, and he's got this country left. He's got pretty much Europe taken over, at least politically, unless the people rise up and do what we did in America, put someone in power like Trump, you know, and flip that around, which is why everybody in America is flipping out. Because, you know, at least the politicians, because they're Satan's people. And they're like, oh crap, if we go down, this is it. We have to either succeed or we're going down. We're going to hell. And you have to sit and think for a second, just actually really think what hell is, and think of you being sent there and what you would do to get out of it. And that's what these people are doing. They know it's too late for them. They've done so much that, you know, or at least they're convinced they can't even ask Christ for forgiveness. You know, that they got to succeed for Lucifer, or that's it. They're going to hell right now, which is why they're pulling all the crap they're doing. And they're revealing themselves. If you look, you know, at who's standing against Trump, the easiest thing there is to see, that's a Satanist. That's someone that's chose Satan's ways, and that's what they want. And, you know, they're proving it by standing, that's what they're standing with and fighting for. But I got to get to Dolores Riordan. This is a shock of a lifetime because of who she was. This woman was like flat out an angel sent by God. Yes, we've had other greats given to us, you know, other great souls. You know, Whitney Houston, you know, comes to mind. She was a great soul, but she chose the dark side, you know, went Satan's way. And so even though we knew, I mean, anybody who knows Christ and God, knew that her soul was a special soul to begin with. Well, that's why, there was still this love for her when she died. It was kind of like, yeah, she went the wrong way, but you know what? We still just loved who she was. There's, of course, people like, Sarah Brightman, Marie Osmond, they just have these totally pure souls. And some people, they choose to be that way, and some people, it's just who they are. And that was Dolores. Even though, I'm from a totally different style music scene, but first time I heard Zombie, I knew, I just was like, and I'm just going to repeat a bunch of stuff that I've read, because since this happened, I've been all over the internet, reading everything I could read, and I'm like, yep, there, yep, that, yep. But first time I heard Zombie, I just knew there was something more to that band, just something else, was going on. It wasn't just a great song, like, I don't know, I can't think of the band's name. There's been a few bands who've had great songs that came out and just grabbed everybody, sold a zillion copies, but there was nothing really behind the song. With Zombie, in the Cranberries, it was more than that. These people they were almost, to me, it's like they were preordained before life to meet up, be together, and do what they did, because the Cranberries were kind of like this 3 or 5 different genre kind of thing, rock, gothic, folk, so they grabbed like a huge crowd, huge, bunch of people from a bunch of different areas. But I mean, I got to be honest, everyone kind of took them for granted. I think, you're seeing it now, how the world's freaking out. Their sales are 1,000% over what they were selling before, just because everyone's freaking that, Dolores is gone. I mean, as long as she was here, people are like, yeah, she's cool, but, whatever. If they come through town and I got a couple extra bucks, I'll go see them, But when someone like that dies, it wakes up their souls, because their soul will always know more than you know. Kind of like Princess Di, where everybody was kind of like, yeah, Princess Di's cool and this and that, but when she died, it was like, hell no. Hell freaking no. And I guess the Crown, I gotta say this, got away with that, because there's so many facts that didn't add up with that, where, they said that she got chased and they were in a panic mess, and the guy driving was so drunk he shouldn't even been able to stand. They proved themselves to be liars all through the investigation, because it's like, well, if the guy was that drunk, how's he walking out the door and not crawling? And then again, if he was that drunk, how would he even crawl? So they're claiming he's like totally whacked out on absinthe, where you just die of alcohol poisoning. You don't even get the poisoning, you just die. But yet he's driving. And they're all, oh, that's okay, you drive, even though you can't stand or walk or crawl. This is the story they put out. And then they said there was this massive race where they were racing like crazy through red lights or whatever. And these paparazzis on motorcycles were chasing them. No one on that route anywhere said that that's what they saw. Like, oh yeah, we saw them tearing ass through here. The motorcycles were just chasing them, 125 miles an hour. And also, when they went down into that tunnel, going as fast as they were saying they were going, they would have caught air, hit the ground, and there would have been tire marks, digging marks. Nope, that wasn't there either. To me, flat out, once they got into that tunnel, that one way or another they were forced into that tunnel. They had to take that route, and once they took it, that's it. They got taken out, because Di was going to embarrass the Crown. They figured sooner or later she's going to talk. She's going to tell what goes on in here. And especially she was dating a Muslim guy, which, stupid freaking girl. Yeah, these women were like total angels given to us. But when they live on this earth, they're human. They're susceptible to all the other human crap that the rest of us are. And none of us are innocent. We all have our past or history. Same with Dolores. I guess she was a drinker, which is kind of funny, because I'm like, she weighed about, as much as 2 food stamps and a piece of lint. So all you have to do is just wave a bottle in front of her and she'd be drunk. She probably didn't take too much to get her, knocked out. But then one thing I found in all my research is that she said, when I drink, I just totally drink, and then I smoke like crazy. And I'm like, really? God, you're a singer and you smoke? And anyways, so none of us are perfect, but still, Dolores was, there's no other way to put it. When you think about it, try to think honestly, who was she? What was she? And just your heart, your feeling, and your soul will tell you this girl was straight up a gift from God. And to be honest, I came across this on the internet. People saying, look, God, you raised Lazarus. This is biblical stuff. And Elijah raised a little girl from the dead for some family. He just was out in the middle of nowhere, walking somewhere, and came across a family, and their daughter just died, and he raised her from the dead. And everyone's like, well, so we know you could do it. You don't even have to snap your fingers. You could just barely think it, and she could come back. So, hands up, we have that faith, and we believe. We're asking you, come on, dude. It's time. It's been a couple thousand years, So, what do we got to do? Anything we got to do? Anything you want from us is and I'm with it. I'm behind that 1,000,000,000,000%. I'm like, yeah, God, you could part oceans, raise the dead, create the planet, wipe it out. This is nothing. How many people on this planet love this girl, and it's not just love. It's like the amount, like how much they love her. And we're talking billions. I don't even know how many. I just know that all over the world. And this has ate at me since I first heard of it. When I first heard it, I was just like, there's no way. I was going to work one day, and I heard on the radio them talking about the Cranberries, and I thought, well, okay, they're this band that everybody loves, especially Dolores. So they probably got a new album coming out. I get to work, and everyone's going, dude, did you hear? Even people that aren't into them at all were like, dude, did you hear that girl from Cranberries died? And everybody else, throughout the day, everybody on the job was like going, dude, did you hear? Did you hear? Did you hear? When other stars die, you'll maybe hear from one or two other people, maybe, depending on who it is. Did you hear so-and-so died? With friggin' Dolores, it was everybody. Everybody was saying, dude, did you hear? And the people that I told, it was the same reaction. No matter who I told, I'm like, dude, did you hear that Dolores Riordan died? And one or two people didn't know who she was, didn't know the name. I go, she's that girl, the singer of the Cranberries. They just stopped dead in their tracks. They just were, no. Dude, no freaking way. Same as me. As soon as I heard it, I was like, there's no way. How in the hell would she die? Die from what? And my very first thoughts were she was on a plane somewhere and the plane went down or something like that. And they're like, well, they aren't saying, but they're saying they found her in a hotel in England. And you want to talk about, I don't even know what the word is. I don't even think there is a word. Where I just thought, that crown better not have had a thing to do with that. And I'm not the only one thinking that. I've seen that on the net, because everybody knows that Zombie was a hit against England for all the, how they've been crushing Ireland for, I don't even know what it is. I guess that song says like 100 years, 100 plus years, and Ireland's been trying to get on its own 2 feet, but England keeps crushing them, which is what England does. England has had this history, this thing with crushing every other country they can, take it over, own it, enslave it and own it. And it hasn't worked for them. They still got these Falkland Islands out off Argentina, which there again, look how far away England's from there. What are they doing claiming that's their land? They didn't discover it. They just went in, took it over, killed whoever they had to, and they've had ownership. And, a few years ago, Argentina tried going back to war against them to get it back. And England's more powerful, and they beat them. But there again, they just have this thing of everything's ours. Everything belongs to us. We should be able to do what we want with everything there is. And it's not that they've succeeded, because like India, they finally had to get out, and I don't even know what other countries, countries in Africa, They're getting kicked out of South Africa now, which actually that's worse for South Africa. If they would learn their lessons from the other countries that kicked the, Caucasians out. How they just instantly fell through the floor. But still, you have to think of how many people they murdered England has trying to take over those countries and own them. I mean, we're talking innocent, millions on millions on millions. And they're like, hey, so what? We want to own the country and own the land. And so Dolores, I could see them just thinking, she's just this little pissant that pissed us off. And when the song first came out, she was huge. Like, well, we can't get her right now, but we'll wait. We'll wait until, she, her star dies and, she's not as, whatever, noticeable or whatever. And, I mean, there again, I'm like, why would you stay in England? I mean, you put out this video, yeah, you said it's about the IRA. That supposedly killed 2 kids, but the rest of the world and everybody else on the street is like, no, that's about England jacking over Ireland and killing whoever they got to keep them enslaved to England. That's what that is. And everybody knows it, and the crown knew it, which means the royal family. Because and this is all proven, this is all over the net. This isn't like me thinking of stuff out of the blue. I guess just a few hours before she was found dead, she was talking to some Bad Wolves band, and they said there wasn't a problem with her. She, was happy and was cool and was normal, or, she didn't sound drunk or on anything. Of course, if you want to break a world record, you can OD in that time and kill yourself. But this is another thing about her. This is another thing that proves that BS. Just who she was. I mean, she lived for her kids. Her kids were everything in the universe. She quit the band. She quit a, international super group to stay home and be a mom and be with her husband. And you can see this in the interviews. You look at all the interviews they got on there. She, they ask her, why'd you quit or what happened? And she's like, look, I had my kids on the road with me. We were all living in a tour bus. And, and then finally there was one leg of the tour came and I couldn't even have my husband with me on the bus. So and she just said, you know what? I'm married to my husband. I'm not married to nothing else. So she quits the band. That's how much this matters, to her. And they're all trying to say, like, she got onto drugs and OD'd, and there was, like, no history of drug abuse. I guess, well, this is where we get to go back and forth, because she even said, like, in '03, she tried to commit suicide. And this, there's so much that we don't know. These are, like, everything that's coming out now, pieces that are coming out now to the rest of the public. Because I didn't know she tried to commit suicide or was even thinking about it in '03. Looking through everything now, I guess I'd say I'm one of those guys that, when I look into somebody to find out who they are, I mean, you could just tell by how they act and how they talk and whatever, who they are. And Dolores, right away, I was like, this girl is special, like, as far as God is concerned, special. I mean, that's who this girl is. And so I just always felt like she just had more people around her, like 24/7. Every guy out there wishes they had a chance. Which in one of the interviews they ask her, so are you still getting marriage proposals? She's like, no, I'm married now. I'm off the market. But I do get a lot of guys telling me they love me. So I just figured this girl had all the people in the universe, backing her, with her, yada, yada, yada. And then another interview, she said, look, we had this #1 hit, Zombie, and I was lonely. And I'm like, what the because who would have ever thought? I mean, even if she was staying in town somewhere where I was, I'd think, well, I can't go down there and try to talk to her. Guarantee there's security up the freaking yang. I'll go down there, just get told to get the hell out and whatever. But, here, I guess somehow she was like, ended up alone. Someone would have to talk to her about this, because I just don't get the whole, in '03 she tried to commit suicide. I'm like, you, what? I mean, the world is like, just thinks you're it. I mean, they, next to Christ, pretty much, think you're it. And, you're married, you got kids, you got everything. You're rich, I don't know. This is like such a conversation that I wish I could have with her. But, she said, well, I survived, so I guess that told me I was supposed to stay with my kids. So now we're thinking, well, wait a minute. She already said she tried to off herself. She was depressed, bipolar, and whatever. Back then in '03, I guess, is what happened or what was going on. So you figure after that, she'd be like, well, I'm not going to do that again, no matter what, because I won't have my kids or nothing or whatever. You figure lesson learned. So this time around, when they're like saying, well, we can't give you the proof of, her death until 3-4 months down the road, there's a lot of talk on the street. There always has been. Will England ever do something about that video? Will the Crown order a hit on her, sit and wait until she's not as popular or whatever? And this situation is that perfect situation. There again, I have no idea what the hey she's freaking doing in London. I don't know. There's so many like unanswered questions, and we might not ever because so much is personal. Like with her boyfriend, it's like, dude, if you were it and what she's into, how come you guys were apart? Well, how come you didn't tell her no? Not England. If you're staying somewhere, it ain't freaking England. Who knows? Whatever the deal is there, but once I got the picture, and I'm just speaking like for eons of guys out there, because I just know there's eons of guys thinking, feeling the exact same thing, that once we found who she was, the type of person she was, it's like, you know what, I got to keep this in arm's length, because it doesn't take much to want that girl, and that's one of the big ones with God, thou shalt not covet, thy neighbor's wife or anybody else's wife. So it's like this girl's so happening that you just can't be reading up everything that comes out or watching every little thing that comes out or whatever, because it's just she's just too much. She's just too happening is what it is. I mean, even if you know about her and know her somewhat, you'll just love her. I mean, that's who she was, and the more you know about her, the more you think that. Which is why the internet and everything, I mean, the internet's trying to like cover it up because she was a Christian, which is what, I mean, bottom line is what makes it the most. Not only did she really believe it, but she lived it. She lived that lifestyle. She told New York and LA, I don't want to be a part of your scene. I don't want to deal with none of your crap, your gossip crap, and you guys trying to meddle in, my affairs, whatever, so she didn't. She didn't have nothing to do with the LA and New York scenes, entertainment scenes, and she didn't have to. That's another thing, it's just, that's in the documentaries as well, is they didn't have to. The style of music they wrote, and, just it sold, and they made it on their own. They didn't need to be in the spotlight or having tabloids talk about them or whatever, So I don't know, I guess that's pretty much about anything I could think, because I'm like 90+%, 99% plus the people around the world where I'm like speechless. I'm shocked. It's that big of a thing. Some people may like, look it up and see like her funeral only had, a few hundred people. Well, guaranteed that was the family saying, look, we're just going to have close family there. We can't have the whole world showing up. They live in a small town. If you look it up, I just did a little bit ago, Ballybrook or something in Limerick. Limerick's like the town, and Ballybrook's like this out in the outskirts, farm country kind of place, where just population's really low. So to have this like massive, all these entertainers and yada yada yada, and they're just small town people and wanted a small town. They didn't even want cameras inside of the church where they did it. And I was that one there. I'm like, come on. I mean, you guys know who your daughter is or who this girl is. But then again, I'm like, do you really know? Maybe you don't really know. Maybe she's just this. She's regular old Dolores. When she was 5 years old, she did this, and 10 years old, she that. They don't get the who she was, who she became, because I'm like sitting here thinking, who else like this girl was like this girl that came like from God? And I'm thinking like Joan of Arc, You know, how God gave her to France, and she could have pulled France out of, war in the clutches of England. There again, England trying to take over a country and wipe them out. But freaking whatever, little alarm. That's about it. I'm just like, can't believe it. And even though I'm from a totally different style music scene, I just know who the girl is, the type of girl she is, that she was flat out a gift from God, and she probably pretty much did fulfill her mission or what she was supposed to do. Her there again, her being a freaking woman, she had an incident where she pulled some crap at the airport on the way from New York back to, Shannon, I guess is where the airport is. It's right outside of Limerick, her hometown, or home city, whatever it is. And I'm like, well, what was that, like the time of the month, or she knew her marriage was coming to a close? There was also, because they kept that quiet. They never said why, And I'm thinking, dude, to this dumb Burton, I'm like, you've got like the girl, the most freaking happening girl damn near on the planet, and what are you filing for divorce for? What, did she beat you up? Has she been cheating on you for, while she's been on the road? She's been with all sorts of other guys. I'm like, City, it's not any of our business, but I'm just sitting here going, how the hell do you freaking divorce a girl like her? And there again, if he was like, well, I want a freaking totally exotic, looking, I don't know what, porn star freaking girl, Playboy penthouse girl. Well, you figure that's who you would have went for and been with already, but he must have saw who and what she was, and as soon as he did, he's like, I'm taking this girl, because he was the manager for Duran Duran when the Cranberries went on tour underneath him, and just like everybody else on the planet, as soon as he freaking got wind of her, he was just like, I'm freaking taking this one if I can. Which is guarantee the story with endless guys that have crossed her path. They've just been like, if there's any way I can have you. And I have to actually commend her bandmates as well for being strong enough to do this. I'm sure, whether it happened or not, they all said, look, you're happening. Do I got a chance? And I'm just figuring this. She probably was like, look, you're cool and this and that, but I don't want to get involved in band member relationships, because when things go bad, if they ever do, then it kills everything. Kind of funny, because they did a remake of, on, I think the live show in Paris, which is on YouTube, of Go Your Own Way by Fleetwood Mac. And she's probably just looking at Stevie Nicks going, that's the last thing I need to break this up, to have, totally jack this up. I'm just figuring, because you got to figure, each of these guys were just like, this girl's freaking it. And she probably laid down the law, said, look, let's not talk about that in us. We're just going to be band members. We're going to be people who work together. This is a business, not just a band, not just a plaything. And they all agreed, and that's what they went with. But I have to still commend them, because I have to think of myself. If I was in a band with her, I would agree to that and stick to it, but I would always want her. I'd always be going, man, if I still ever do have a chance, as long as we're, doing the band thing and stuff, and that's how it is. But if anything ever changes in the operation here, and I'd have to say that with each one of them. So, I have to commend these guys, because that takes strength to do, to really want somebody, in there again, maybe they'll say, no, she was just a band member. None of us ever, but I doubt it. She was just too freaking happening who she was, the type of person she was. And that's hard. That's especially being a guy, because guys are like lions that are out to freaking get that prey. When it comes to women, there's this drive that God put in men. It's just, I have to, when it comes to women in that way, it's like I have to. I don't have a choice. There's this drive in me that is just, beyond my control. So to have a girl like her in your life all day, every day, and you're working with her and stuff, it's just probably after a while, like it wore out and got normal, or they tamed off. But then again, this is how I think of everything. I'm sitting here thinking of like the video. I'm just barely getting caught up on their stuff, which songs are which, because I just knew who she was and they were happening. They were a cool band, but I didn't really get into memorizing everything. Because like I said, you look too much and then you start thinking, man, is that girl single or is she going to be? Let me check the tabloids, let me this, let me that. And I'm like, no, dude, you forget it. But there's a song where, I think it's Ode to Family or When You're Gone. I think it's When You're Gone. Where she still looks like a little girl, She's obviously a woman because she's had kids, I think, by that time. But she just has such an innocent look in the whole thing, kind of little goth girl, platformish boots. And I'm looking at the band members while they're playing, and I'll just say me, that I would just be sitting there thinking, God, I wish so bad I could be the one. I could be the one to have this girl. So that's and maybe it's easier when she married somebody else. She's that kind of like took it out of their hands or out of their imagination. Like, well, I can't now. She's gone. She's married. But I just said that to, I guess, give vision of what 99.9999999% of the guys on the planet are thinking when it came to her. And the women, well, maybe there's some women that think that too, women that like women. But they realize more when a woman is a pure soul person. And because you see more of them writing on the blogs and all that, they're just like, my heart is totally shattered and broken. As soon as I heard you guys, I loved you. And it's the pure love.